Okay, we have one table that speaks English. My name is Jason Park. I'm an attorney in Gwinnett County in Duluth, and it is my privilege and honor to be the MC of this magnificent event. I was told to do this 2 minutes ago, so please bear with me. Daddy, it's your fault. I was falling asleep in my car and he dragged me out. Well, first of all, let us begin with the salute and the national anthem. Please rise. At this time, we have the representative, the official representative of the Republic of Korea, Ms. Consul General. He will be speaking to you all about our situation. Thank you very much. Please welcome him.
안녕하세요. good evening. 먼저 한국말로 하고 그리고 I can speak Korean and then English later. 안녕하세요. 오늘 한인범죄예방단체가 공식적으로 출범하게 된 것을 진심으로 환영합니다. 그동안 한인동포사연에서 여러 크고 작은 사건들이 발생하고 이로 인해 많은 우려가 있는 가운데 민간이 중심이 되어 한인 동포 사회를 보다 밝고 안전하게 만들고자 오늘 범죄예방단체가 공식적으로 출범하게 되었습니다. 어쩌면 많이 늦었을 수도 있습니다. 하지만 범죄 예방을 위한 활동은 우리 동포들의 안정적 생활 환경을 조성하는 데 꼭 필요한 일이라고 생각합니다. 이 뜻깊은 일에 스스로 앞장서서 오늘의 출범식을 갖기까지 애써오신 범죄예방단체 관계자 여러분들께 감사하다는 말씀과 함께 그동안의 노고를 치아드립니다. 또한 이 자리에 함께해 주신 모든 동포 여러분께도 감사의 말씀과 함께 앞으로 더 중요한 것은 우리 모두의 관심과 참여라는 점을 강조하고 싶습니다. 오늘 새롭게 출발하는 한인 범죄예방단체는 한인 동포사회와 지역 법집행기관과의 가교가 되어 한인 동포들의 든든한 버팀목이 될 것으로 기대합니다. 우리 동포들이 겪는 어려움과 갈망을 현지 법 집행기관들이 충분히 공감할 수 있도록 전달하는 민간 매개체가 될 것이며 상호간 여러 교류 활동 등을 통해 신뢰를 쌓고 한인 동포 사회에 대한 법 집행기관들의 관심을 이끌어낼 수 있을 것으로 생각합니다. 다시 한번 한인범죄 예방단체의 출범을 축하드리며 건강하고 안전한 미 동남부 한인 동포 사회를 우리 모두가 함께 만들어 가십시다. 저희 총영사관에서도 여러분들의 활동을 적극 응원하도록 하겠습니다. Director Pete Reynolds of Georgia Bureau of Investigation, District Attorney Daniel J. Porter of the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit, and Judge Rhonda Reilly of the Gwinnett County State Court, and Chief Deputy Lou Solis of the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office, and distinguished guests. Thank you for joining us at the official launching announcement of Korean Advocate for Crime Prevention, KACP, and I would like to extend my heartfelt welcome to all of you here this evening. As launched today, the KACP will play an important bridging role between Korean community and the local law enforcement agencies in Georgia. And I believe it will become a strong buttress for the Korean community here in Metro Atlanta. In this respect, I sincerely ask all the law enforcement agencies in Georgia continuously to pay attention to the KACP and to support its activities. Once again, I sincerely congratulate on the launch of KACP, and I hope all the people in this room will get acquainted with each other and have a fun and delightful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Consul General Young-Jun Kim, for those remarks. At this point, I would like to just take a break and recognize some of the people who dedicate their lives and give everything for the security of our community. We have a few members of the and people in uniform. Please rise. I believe those are gentlemen from Gwinnett County PD. Have you gone to FBI yet?
Oh, you mean?
Yes.
March 1st.
Okay, so he's also a member of PCP. Thank you for your service. We also have some political candidates who are running. At this time, we would like to introduce, in very simple terms, the Director of Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Mr. Vic Reynolds.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be with you. South Korea has a very dear place in my heart for two reasons. One, my father is a veteran of the Korean conflict. He's 88 years old. Last year, when I had the great opportunity to visit that country, he was probably more excited than I was, and it really meant a lot to him as well. He's doing well. He's 88. He lives up in Rome, Georgia. But my good friend, Dr. Tai Chu, and my new friend, Dr. In-sun Park, were so gracious to me last year when we went to Seoul. I had an occasion to spend 11 days there, make 6 or 7 presentations, and really enjoyed the hospitality, the friendship, and the food too. It was really good. So thank you. I bid you the best greeting I can from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. We're very busy. It's a great agency. I'm very honored. I'm very humbled to be the director of that agency. We've got a lot of irons in the fire, as we say down south. We've got a lot of things going on. So I thought I would tell you very briefly a few of the exciting things we have going on and maybe help you a little bit on your crime prevention techniques and things that might help your community as well as all the communities in Gwinnett and around the state. I do want to tell you, first of all, that you're blessed if you live in this great county to be in one of the best places in Georgia. For several reasons, you have a tremendous law enforcement community. They do a great job in Gwinnett County. I come from Cobb County, and so we always had a little bit of a rival going with Cobb and Gwinnett, but this is a great county, and I have a lot of law enforcement friends here, both new and old, that I've met both as district attorney and now as a director. You have a great bench. You have great judges who do tremendous work here in Gwinnett, and you should be very proud of that. You can always know that when you go to the court system, you'll be treated respectfully and fairly and appropriately. And not last but not least, I think you have one of, if not the best district attorney in the state of Georgia, and that's Danny Porter. So, great guy. I want to tell you that as a former district attorney, he's an individual that I looked up to for a number of years. He does a great job over here, has done it for a number of years, and is somebody that has a great respect of all the district attorneys, the bench, law enforcement, and the GBI as well. So I'm honored to consider him a friend, and I'm honored to work with him. So Danny, best of luck. I thank the world of you. Let me tell you a little bit about what we've got going on at the GBI, and you're welcome to ask me any questions when I get through if you'd like to. The GBI is an interesting agency. We're what you call a requesting agency. In other words, we don't respond to 911 calls like your officers do. If you have something going on in your business or your home and you need 911, they would respond to you. And where we get involved as a GBI agency is if someone needs our assistance or help in a particular case. Most of the time, that occurs outside of the metro area, again, because you're very fortunate here. You have police departments and sheriff's departments and district attorney's offices that have the manpower, the ability, the equipment, the personnel to do all of the things that's required here. A lot of places aren't as fortunate as Gwinnett County. The smaller rural areas around the state of Georgia really need our help, and that's where we do most of our work. Outside of the metro area, we do murder cases, we do robbery cases, we do drug cases, we do all kinds all around the state, and so we're very, very involved. We have 15 separate offices, separate regional offices throughout the state of Georgia, where we can work and assist locals in helping them with their law enforcement issues. Not only do we have agents who do that in regional offices, we have specialized units. For example, some of you may have read that this Governor Kemp, one of his top priorities in his administration is to do all we can do to eradicate criminal street gangs. That's been at the very top of our priority as the director of the GBI. I'm very proud of the fact that in the first year, we stood up the very first GBI Gang Task Force. It's a group of very experienced agents along with local partners that work gang cases all over the state of Georgia. And we're seeing them everywhere. According to the most recent numbers, according to the Gang Investigators Association, we have over 70,000 gang members in the state of Georgia. We have another 15,000 in the state prison system who are validated gang members. We have another 14 or 15,000 who are on probation or parole. That's 100,000 gang members. So we've got to deal with those, and we've got to deal with them aggressively the way that you do here in Gwinnett. We've got to preach that all over the state of Georgia. So we're getting much better at that. We're beginning to see cases made everywhere, down in rural Georgia, in suburban counties, and in, obviously in the urban areas as well. So I'm proud of the work they've done. We've just went operational in the last month or so with the first ever statewide gang database. The law has been written to allow us to do that since 2010, but nobody has taken it on. The governor asked me, Vic, why hasn't somebody done that? And I said, we're probably going to find out when we start doing it. It's been quite a task, but we've worked very hard the last 5 or 6 months to stand that database up, and I'm very proud it's up and running. We dropped 18,000 gang members' names in it before it became operational. We have over 100 definitions of gangs and descriptions of those gangs in our database now. We picked 8 sites around the state of Georgia to help us with what we call beta sites, our initial groups helping us, and we're getting ready to open the second phase where we allow law enforcement agencies to join and begin entering information. All of that is free to law enforcement. They do not have to pay a penny. There's no maintenance cost. There's nothing of that nature. The GBI and the state is taking care of that. I'm very proud of that. I'm also very proud of the fact that in the last 6 months of 2019, we trained over 3,000 law enforcement officers throughout Georgia in how to work gang cases and what we consider to be best practices. So I'm very proud of the work that the GBI is doing in that area. But there's a lot more to do, and we're going to continue to work hard in that area. I'm also very concerned about the issue of human trafficking throughout the state of Georgia. This is something that's also important to this governor and his wife, the First Lady. We intend on working very hard in that particular area. I expect sometime this year, sometime in 2020, we'll be standing up the first unit within the GBI to specifically look at not only human trafficking and sexual servitude, but also labor trafficking as well. I'm convinced there's a lot of that going on where we're trafficking individuals for the purposes of working labor, particularly south of Macon in the South Georgia area agriculturally, that we're not doing anything about. We're letting that go on. We were down in South Georgia just a week or so ago and began seeing spray paint with certain gangs that were staking out certain territory where migrant workers were coming in and out of. And so we're going to really start looking at that very closely during the course of 2020. Another thing we're going to do that I'm very excited about is sometime during the course of 2020, we're going to start really taking a long look at some unsolved murder cases, cold cases as we call them. We were successful in doing that on a limited basis in Cobb, trying to solve some cases that had sat for a long time. We need to do that all over the state. Every regional office I visited in 2019 told me they had a number of cases that had been unsolved. I encourage you to keep your eyes open, be good neighbors with each other, develop relationships with your law enforcement. As I said a moment ago, you're so blessed and so fortunate here to have these kind of law enforcement communities that will work with you and develop partnerships with you, and I would encourage you to do that. Again, I want to tell you that I'm so honored to be with you. I feel a kindred bond with you after spending my time last year in South Korea and in Seoul. It's a beautiful place, and I really, really enjoyed it. My good friend Ty is a great host. Insun Park was a great hostess as well. She interpreted for me around the country. We just had a beautiful time there. So I was honored to be with the folks there, and I'm very honored to be with you tonight. So I'd be more than happy if you have any questions to pose to me. I'll be honored to ask them. So thank you. God bless you. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Reynolds, if I can ask you to stand here for a second.
Yes.
At this time, I would request my favorite state court judge, Brother Cohen, please come to the podium. Mr. Hyung-Kwon Park and Professor Chu, please come here. Yes. Yes, we're going to do this. And also, Counsel General Mr. Young-Jun Kim. If you could stand over here. Yes, please. At this time, we would like to present the Director of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation with the Appreciation Award. Judge, if I could ask you to read what's on the award and present it to the Director. Oh. Yes, please.
Appreciation Award presented to Dick Reynolds, Director, Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It's our keynote speaker, presented by the first annual GACP Crime Prevention Lecture and Gala. For your dedicated service and support for Korean community safety and crime prevention advocates, are greatly appreciated and hereby recognized you on February 22nd, 2020.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, we would like to bring Mr. Clayton Lee, who will introduce the board members of the Georgia Crime Prevention Advocates to the community. Mr. Lee.
Good evening, and welcome to the Georgia Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention official launching ceremony and the first annual gala. Honorable Judge, distinguished guests, and Asian community leaders, and respectable police officers in uniforms. In October, a group of people got together and discussed about needs of creating or promoting the safe environment of reduced crime for Korean community here in Gwinnett County. So several groups of leaders got together, and we formed organizations called Georgia Advocates for Crime Prevention, Inc. Now it's registered as a nonprofit organization in the state of Georgia in December 2019. Okay, yeah, if you look at the screen, our mission is proactively advocate, task, and promote safe and crimeless community through providing crime prevention campaign, education, seminar, and training programs. And also we like to intervene in networks with the liaison between Korean communities and law enforcement and the law-related professionals here in Metro Atlanta area. So some of the activities that we already have done. Okay, we have done a gun safety awareness seminar in partnership with the Gwinnett County Police Department Central Precinct and OCA Georgia organization in December. And in another December, we did, the member attended Gwinnett County Police Department Central Precinct on their December 2019 security meeting, topics on new security, camera installed in partnership with the Sugarloaf CID. This company is called Flux Safety Security Company in partnership with the Gwinnett County Police Department. This system works really great. It's not the civilian cameras that you've been seeing. They are directly connect with the Gwinnett County Police Department. So any crime happens, the Gwinnett County Police Department are able to get into that system and monitor what crime is occurring, so they can respond right away. So that was a great system, and we like to promote that too. And our board members invited to Georgia Gwinnett Police Chiefs Association in December 2019 meeting, and at the time we submitted our organization's business plan and stated our mission and vision. So it was a great meeting and great to meet some of the key police force leaders there. So we are really, it was a successful meeting, and we appreciate the invitation. And the fourth, our members and media visited GBI in January 16, 2020, and we toured the facility and guided by Assistant Director, Mr. Dan Kirk. Director, Mr. Vic Reynolds, wasn't absent at the time. He was doing something else, so Assistant Director was able to provide us the guide, and we had a great experience visiting them and knowing who GBI is and what they do. So it was a great experience. And the fifth, we already done, and we also attended Georgia Gwinnett Police Department Central Precinct, their January security meeting. Their topics was in drug awareness. So we had a great information, and the media was able to report the drug awareness topics to the Korean community. So it was a great meeting. And continuing on, Duluth Police Department contacted us and wanted to do a crime prevention seminars with our group to the Asian community. So we are scheduled to do it in March in the leadership of Colonel Jackie Hood. And we have several Korean speaking police officers in Duluth Police Department as well. And we have Mr. Kang and Detective Lee is over here with us. And we soon will do a seminar with you guys, okay? And in the future plans that we like to do is we like to MOU agreement with Asian communities, not just the Korean. We have a massive Asian populations are here in Gwinnett County. So I think we can share the common interest together and keep our community safe and crimeless, so that our business can, continue to grow, and our residents enjoys the living in this area. So that's another thing that we like to do. And also in March, in April, and we like to visit Gwinnett County Sheriff's facility. Mr. Chief Deputy Solis requested us if we can schedule a visit, and we like to do that in the future too. And continue on, we like to do monthly seminars on crime prevention lectures and the researchers led by Dr. Chu, a professor who teaches crime prevention classes in University, North Georgia University. And we like to continue to recruit our members. Our organization is a nonprofit organization. Our group would like to grow with the members. So anybody who's interested joining us as a member, you're welcome to do it. And I'll pass it on the signing sheet later. So anybody who is interested, you're welcome to join us and give us feedback and the support. That's what we need. That's what we need for the community. We work together to care about the community. That's what we need to do. So. And Suho, I know you are a lawyer, but you are running for the House Representative. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. I'm going to lower this a little bit because I'm short. Hi, everybody. My name is Sue Hong, and I am running for State Representative House District 102, which is in Lawrenceville, Suwannee, and a little bit of Sugar Hill. As Mr. Lee has mentioned, I am also an attorney, and I have been practicing law for 11 years here in this community. And in that capacity, I have actually helped and counseled Korean business owners that have fallen victim to crime, as well as crime prevention issues. I will say Koreans are very strong and tough people. And I know small business owners that have fallen victim to crime, and the next day they get up and go to work. And they don't tell anybody, they don't really discuss it, but I think it's time that that changes. And I think this is a great organization for people to turn to about those issues. As for running for office, that is something that I hope that I can be a leader in the Korean community, that people can turn to me about issues regarding safety of our community. So as far as the letter from our own Gwinnett Congressman Rob Woodall here in 7th District, he has given the organization a letter, and I'm going to read it here. To the esteemed board and members of the Georgia Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention. It is my honor to congratulate you on the official launch of the Georgia Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention, GKACP. While I regret I cannot be there in person to celebrate all your hard work getting this initiative off the ground, I have no doubt that Georgians across the state will be better served because of your commitment to ensuring our friends and neighbors are kept safe. As we all know, crime prevention directly translates into a better quality of life for all our friends and families and loved ones, and a safe community is one that flourishes with economic potential. I am pleased to see the GKACP's commitment to this purpose, and I know you will serve as nothing but a positive force in our community. It has been my privilege in Congress to represent one of the largest and most vibrant Korean American communities in our nation. GKACP is just another example of the many endeavors the Korean American community has undertaken to better serve the people of Georgia, and I wish you all the best as you work to achieve that noble mission. Rob Whittle, Member of Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Danny Porter, to the podium. Mr. Danny Porter, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me follow the blessing. So that's a hard act to follow. But my name is Danny Porter. I'm the District Attorney of Gwinnett County, or the Gwinnett Judicial Circuit. I was elected in 1992 and took office in January of 1993. So for the last 26 years, I have served the people of Gwinnett County as the Chief Prosecution Officer in our court system in the Superior Court. I'm honored today to be here with the GKACP, and I'm honored to have one of my assistant DAs, Han Chung, as one of the members of this committee, I think, which shows our commitment to crime prevention and our commitment to the Korean community. I am going to say that I'm seeking election in 2020 for my last term, I hope, as district attorney, and I, of course, would appreciate the support of this community. But beyond that, I think that it was a pleasure to see my friend Vic Reynolds, and we have worked together for many years. We too have a gang task force. We work closely with the GBI in cases. As a matter of fact, your unit built a case here in Gwinnett where 2 gang members were arrested with a large amount of drugs. And the following week, my gang task force arrested 17 gang members, all of them who we intend to send to prison. So we work closely together with the GBI, and it's always an honor to hear Vic speaks because he's a better speaker than I am. I do want to read a letter from my friend, Charlotte Nash, who is the chairman of the Gwinnett County Commission. She's retiring at the end of 2020 after decades of service to this county, and so it's an honor for me to read this letter. It is addressed to Mr. Lee at the Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention. To the members of the Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention, on behalf of the Gwinnett County government, I want to congratulate the Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention on your official launch and wish you the best going forward. The commissioners and I fully support the mission and purpose of your new nonprofit organization to inform, educate, and work with local law enforcement and law-related professionals to learn about crime prevention. I regret that I'm not able to attend your official launch gala on Saturday, February the 22nd. I'm sure it will be an impressive event. And with the director of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation as the keynote speaker and illustrious guests like Sun Park, PhD, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice Department at the University of Akron, Ohio, and Ji Soon Song, PhD, the Associate Professor of Government and Sociology Department at Georgia College and State University. I hope that all of the attendees of the gala held at the 1818 Club will enjoy networking opportunities to learn about your new organization, as well as the scheduled lectures. I look forward to seeing the positive impact that the Korean Advocates for Crime Prevention will make on our community. Thank you all for your continuing efforts to keep Gwinnett County vibrantly connected. Sincerely, Charlotte J. Nash, Chairman, Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, and please enjoy your meal while we set up Dr. Park's lecture. You enjoy your meals. And I'd like to introduce Dr. In-sun Park. She is a professor at University of Akron in Ohio, and she teaches criminal justice classes. And we are grateful to have her and hear about what she have about to say and teach us and educate us on crime prevention topics. Dr. Park?
Thank you everyone for making this possible, for this opportunity to speak in front of everyone. And especially I'm enjoying this. I think it's the first time that I'm sitting in a room with so many Park as a last name with the same last name as mine. And then if this event did not happen, then I would be sitting in Ohio, buried in the snow, grading my assignments. So I am really enjoying this event. But what I'm really trying to do for today's event is to back up what this group is already doing, because we saw all the missions and activities that Mr. Clayton laid out. It's actually backed up by the research that it is effective in increasing the level of satisfaction of the criminal justice agency service. And there are many predictors according to the research that predicts the level of service, especially the age and race. People who are younger, who are more educated, who are living in the neighborhood where they're safe, tend to be more satisfied with the service. But today I want to talk about a little bit different, which is social capital. There's a lot of successful business people in this room, so I think people know that capital, having a financial asset, is very important in being successful. But social capital, which is having a great connection and network and trust among people, actually predicts a high level of satisfaction with the public service as well. And Director Reynolds, I personally admire him as my mentor as well. And when I asked him that how can I be successful like he is, and he said, well, you need to be bold. And then he also said, you can't know too many people. And network is actually very important. And having a participation, having a collaborative relationship, and having built a trust among different people actually acts as an asset, as the finance asset works in the business. But the social capital acts as an asset in terms of the public service satisfaction, and it has a lot of benefits. It's interesting because in the field of sociology, we say that the sum of individuals is actually more than just the sum of individuals. We have a lot of people here, but our synergy is actually greater than just a raw sum of people gathered in this room. And the core in this operation, or the synergy, is the social capital. It is social. It is produced in the network and the relationship between individuals, but the sum of this individual as a networking individuals will be actually greater than the raw sum. And it's public good. It will benefit everyone who's in the group. And then the benefits of having social capital will be in the public health and having fun by being social. And then subjective well-being and being satisfied with individuals' lives. And then most importantly, crime and safety. A few years ago, I got very interested in this concept and had a research on this by looking at the level of participation and level of activity in the society, and then the level of trust as well as the neighborhood relation in predicting the level of social capital, especially in terms of the satisfaction with the police service. Because I myself worked as a police officer in Republic of Korea, and I'm not talking about collecting the smiley faces as a result of service, but to be honest, when I was working as a police officer, there was actually policy that the victims would get called after the service and they were asked to indicate the level of satisfaction with the police officers. Which I wasn't very happy, to be honest. But I'm not talking about that kind of collecting smiley faces satisfaction. Rather, I would like to point out how the participation and the activity in the society, trust and neighbor relation would create and generate a greater level of satisfaction in terms of trusting the policy and trusting the performance of the law enforcement agents and trusting what is being done to prevent crime from the officers, from the court, and other criminal justice agencies. So I talked to people in Cincinnati, which I regard as my second hometown in Ohio, and another city in Korea, and I talked to 300 people in the United States and in Korea. And when I compare the level of different dimensions of social capital, there was greater participation in Korea, and there was greater level of activity in the society and trust and neighborhood relationship in the city of Cincinnati in the United States. But how does this relate to the level of satisfaction for the police service was my primary interest. And in the city of Cincinnati in the United States, the participation and the trust and activity in the society produce greater levels of satisfaction with the police service. As opposed to in Korea, having a lot of participation in the community and having a greater level of trust going in the community predicted higher levels of police satisfaction. And here, the community of Gwinnett County, I think, has very unique characteristics. It has both Korean people and the United States. This is an intersection of both cultures present. And there's different factors predicting the levels of police service satisfaction according to this research. But I think we can start what is commonly found in two different locations be applied to this community. In terms of participation, being volunteer to the service, or continuing this social interaction, what is already happening in this room, and then sharing the codes and language with different community will build a strong relationship in terms of participation and stronger level of satisfaction with the service. And more importantly, trust will be built by sharing the information and interacting with the people in a formal way as well as informal way. I had the greater pleasure of touring and learning about the GBI last year, and I greatly cherish relationship with Director Reynolds as well as this gift. And it's when you go inside the facility and you learn what's going on really from the inside, and I really enjoy especially the crime lab part because it's awesome. Then you can really learn what's going on and what the officers are trying to prevent crime and solve the crime, as opposed to learning about it from the outside. So I want to emphasize the social interaction, both in formal way and informal way, and then sharing the language and code and participating especially in making the decision. And I think there's a great potential, especially for this group, because the governor of the state of Georgia has a great interest in increasing the public safety and solving crimes and making the community more safe. And by forming this group that we can talk to each other and get to know each other and sharing more information about each other will build a participation and trust, and that will eventually lead to greater satisfaction of different criminal justice agency, which I would be very grateful as a former criminal justice officer and as an educator and a part of Korean community in the United States. Again, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I really hope that you will continue this great networking opportunity and create this positive vibe in this room. Thank you again.
Presented an appreciation award to Dr. Park first before we go on to Dr. Son's lecture. Dr. Park, can you stand up, please? Come up to the center. I'd like to present this appreciation award. You need glasses? Well, well, Deputy, can you tell us who you are first to the audience?
Okay, my name's Lou Solis. I'm the Chief Deputy of Operations for the Gwinnett County Sheriff's Office. I'm the second guy in charge of the Sheriff's Office. And, where's Lee? Come here, Lee. That way you can translate it real quick. But I want to tell you a quick story. And you talked about language and communication. So I'm driving down the road and the sheriff calls me and says, I want you to go meet the Consulate General at the 1818 Club. And I'm like, okay. My Korean is not that good. And what do you want me to tell him? And he says, tell him I'm late and just sit there and talk with him. Again, my Korean is not that good. I think I only know 2 words, and one of them's food. But that was my introduction to which was really good because we got to invite the Consul General, of course, to the Sheriff's Office, and that's how we got to get the partnership together. The Sheriff is not running for Sheriff, so I am. And Lee is my ambassador to the Asian community, and he speaks Korean. And so I'm going to have him interacting very much with the Asian community so that we can have a good partnership. We do as well, I do have a couple of guys involved in the gang unit. We do have gangs in Gwinnett, and we are doing a very good job. As a matter of fact, I think 2 days ago, we caught 2 murder suspects, 2 females, young females that were involved in a gang. And so we took them off the street, so that's pretty good. So we have a good, our fugitive squad is very good at catching people. So we, in coordination with the DA's office, we do a lot of stuff. And we're about to partner with the GBI as far as the crime data sharing, so that's really cool for us. But anyway, I just wanted you to tell them about how we met the Korean general. It was really hard.
지금 한국에 와서 영사님을 처음 만나는 게 이번보다 높으신 셰럽이 이렇게 지시를 내렸대요. 그래서 가서 한국 영사 좀 만나라고. 그래서 근데 나는 한국말을 못하니까 딱 2말밖에 못한다고. 하나 가지는 그러니까 음식 이름이라고. 그런데 그래도 가서 만나라고. 그래가지고 가서 만나서 이렇게 인사도 하고 그랬다고요. 지금 이제 이분이 이제 나가니까 셰럽 쪽으로 이제 출마를 할 거예요, 올해. 근데 이제 여기서 많이 이제 아시안을 많이 도와드리려고 하고 그런 방면으로 노력을 하고 있습니다, 지금. 그래서 저는 옆에서 이제 그냥 통역만 하는 거고 또 하는 직업이 또 따로 있고 하니까요. 여기까지.
What he said. I was going to translate it, but I'll let him. What's that? So we're gonna. I guess we're gonna hand you your award. Turn it this way. If I be sure. I don't have my glasses. I can read backwards, by the way. But appreciation award for Dr. Park. How's that? I'll cut it short. How's it?
Thank you, Chief Deputy Solis. Now at this time, I'd like to call Dr. Song and give us her second lecture, the community policing and fear of a crime.
With many comments and questions after my presentation. So my presentation is about community policing and residents' fear of crime. So I tried to first tell you what community policing is, and then this concept and this philosophical approach is very famous one, so I think everybody know it very well. In the book, it says community policing advocates assert that the most effective way of reducing community decay and disorder is through a collaborative relationship between residents and the police. And the website says Office of Community-Oriented Policing Service actually indicates community policing begins with a commitment to build mutual trust. It says mutual between the police and residents, trust and respect, and it is very important for public safety. So as you can see, there are three kind of circles. Those are characteristics of community policing. And then I tried to summarize some characteristics of community policing in here. And then actually community policing is not a small concept, it's an idea. It is a philosophical approach. Of course, though, maybe specific strategies or maybe tactics could be different based on geographical location, but idea is the same thing. So I try to summarize using the three concepts. First one is collaborative relationship between residents and police. Second thing is proactive stance. Third one is decentralization of police power. What I want to emphasize with this, as a policing scholar, I teach undergraduate and graduate policing classes all the time throughout my professor time. And then these are not mutually exclusive. These are all kind of connected to each other. So I'm going to kind of address one by one. First one, collaboration between residents and police. Actually, we need to meet. Residents and police must meet through community meetings. And then I know I'm in Duluth, correct? And then even though I don't live in here in Duluth, Lawrenceville, and Beaufort Highway, there are lots of Korean population is there. So actually, I see a lot of business owners there, and then neighborhood, and there are also a lot of religious groups in this area. So through those outlets, we should meet police, the residents, and even other like government sectors, offices from there, we should meet. And then this is a good environment. Today is an evidence actually. So through those meetings, there are benefits. Residents could express their concerns about the communities easily. And then also from a police point of view, they could educate residents in there about their concerns, what kind of crimes there, minor disorders there, so that residents could escape some kind of dangerous situations. Next one, I would say like proactive stance. When I say proactive stance, it is not from one-way relationship. It is from both ways. Residents should not think like this. Oh, I'm resident, I pay my tax. So keeping the safety is your job, police officer's job only. That is not a righteous attitude under this philosophical approach. So many scholars said residents and police officers should be co-producers to have better community. And then, like I said, this is a two-way working relationship to have a better community to reduce residents' fear of crime. And then third one is decentralization of police power, since from this philosophical approach, actually wanting to have a cooperative relationship, meaning residents also should be ready to have some responsibilities. And then if you can see, residents watch group, like neighborhood watch group and Crime Stopper members are not police officers. You already know that. Those members are in neighborhood watch group and Crime Stoppers are residents. Meaning from a police point of view, they wanted to decentralize their power. And then from residents' point of view, they want to share their responsibility together to make a better, great community. That is very important concept of this community policing. So under the community policing, because of this, their stance is different. And then I just highlighted it about the peacekeeping role, the importance of peacekeeping role. Previously, when we had in this country, we had the colonial era. After that, we had reform era and then political era. Throughout those whole eras before, we didn't have actually very efficient policing system. Efficient professional policing system started from community problem-solving era, started from around 1960s, along with the civil rights movement in this country. So police officers' role has been changed. Previously, they were maybe only crime fighters. And then their mindset, probably warrior. But crime control role is still there, but nowadays police role has been dramatically expanded. So they are caregivers, they're service providers, they're maintenance guy, and then they try to do housekeeping in their community. So peacekeeping role is pretty much important. So now you may think community policing is a very popular concept, everybody knows, and every police officers would have that training during their academy training education process. So you may think, why do we say community policing, community policing? So actually there are lots of studies, late 1990s and early 2000s, and then they found out, what they found is that in many cities, communities found community policing actually led to crime reduction, and it increased resident satisfaction with the police, and then it also reduced residents' fear of crime. It in turn actually enhanced residents' perception about their quality of life. So next one, I try to make it short, like maybe 5 more minutes, bear with me. So I try to explain fear of crime and then how we can reduce it. In fact, fear of crime in the literature, because I came from academic, have a kind of different concept. So operationalization of fear of crime is not consistent. However, in the major research, there are 3 models to explain residents' fear of crime. First one, victimization model, indicates actually try to look at lots of individual predictors like age, gender, minority status. And the Koreans actually are minorities, among minorities in this country, isn't it? And then second, collective efficacy model. We don't use this word in normal conversation very well. However, under this model, they ask questions like this. Do you know your neighbor's name? how often do you converse with your neighbor? Can you ask help when you have some flat tires to your neighbor? Or if you receive some favor from your neighbor, would you really need to return the favor? That is actually questions under collective efficacy model. Basically, this model measures relationship among ties among neighbors. The other one, it is very easy to understand, crime and disorder model, try to measure crime and disorder. So basically, based on the previous research, under first model, female, relatively older, and minority residents had higher fear of crime. Under the second model, as you can assume easily, residents with higher levels of collective efficacy reported lower levels of fear of crime. The other one, of course, all crime, violent and non-violent, including misdemeanors, actually increased residents' fear of crime. So the main thing is that, okay, we now know based on literature finding what fear of crimes are, but we want to reduce it. So there might be more factors we could reduce the residents' fear of crime, but in the literature, in the policing reviews, actually they suggest 4 things, and these 4 bullets appear most frequently in the literature. So personalized policing, community engagement, environmental design, and problem-solving orientation. So I try to explain one by one. Personalized policing. What I want to say right now has a deep relationship with community policing idea that I just introduced. So personalized policing, actually under community policing, police want to decentralize their power. So from this approach, they should be much less bureaucratic. So police officers, they have their own beat. We call it BEAT, their patrol units, right? So they should be familiar with their unit. Residents, business owners, kind of incident, minor and also major incident, they should be very familiar with that. So they try to provide very personalized service. That is personalized policing. And then second one is community engagement. And then also under community policing, I emphasize about the community partnership. So residents actually feel safer when this community policing is implemented. So police should find out actually how they strategically communicate with the residents. It's not the only police, also other government sectors from the GBI or from the court area. We have to know how to strategically communicate with the residents so that we could enhance their perception about government sectors. And then this is a good outlet, I think. I came from academic, and then others came from police, and then GBI, and then some legal area, district court. So it is very good opportunity to have this kind of opportunity again and again. And then also a lot of police department these days, what I found out, they have a website, Facebook or something, so the residents could easily go there to look at post something, and then this is very good outlet. And then weekly neighborhood newspaper, and then the TV news and the like, it will be good outlets for residents and police and other government sectors to meet together to share their concern. And then another one is the environmental design. I personally, as a policing scholar, think this area will be dramatically increased in this 21st century technology-oriented era. I have not heard about body cam a lot 10 years ago. And then nowadays, policing department use a lot of technology, Comstat, like CopLink, and then we discussed about the technology before. So now we are using those technologies, surveillance camera and then lighting system, we could change it, and then we could install those kind of like ATM machines, not outside, inside the store, gas station or something. So those safety should be embedded in the environmental design. So I think this will be very enhanced in the future, this kind of approach. So problem-oriented policing, this is actually SARA model. I'm pretty sure police officers, when they receive the training, I'm pretty sure they receive what SARA model is. SARA model is very specific tactics, strategy under community policing philosophy. So scanning, analyze, and response assessment. So if you look at that, if police do not scan and analyze incident or whatever it is in the community well, they cannot provide tailored service for that. So it is very important to know specific things in their community. And then also, I'm talking about how can we reduce, right? We can reduce this fear of crime. And then when we see the location, I'm in the Duluth, I visited here, like I come here for grocery shopping once a month, even though I don't live here. And then if I see the Duluth, somehow kind of disturbances, like maybe a minor incident, are not equally distributed. You police officer, you already know that. There's some pocket areas that always there are more crimes and more residents call. We simply call it a hotspot, right? And then that concept developed from like 1913-40 with social disorganization theory and Kansas City experimental design actually suggested there are some areas, like pocket areas, have more problems. So in there, residents have more crime, more fear of crime because there are more incidents there. So police should focus on that area. They call it hotspot a lot. So I introduced 4 kind of things that we could reduce residents' fear of crime. So problem-solving orientation, environmental design, and community engagement, and very personalized, tailored policing. So all these 4 are not like pie cut. All these are one package to reduce residents' fear of crime. So thank you for listening, and then I would love to receive any questions or comments.
Thank you, Dr. So, stay here.
Yes.
Officer Kendall, Mr. Martin, I have a question for you. When's the last time you did a ride-along to put your practice in computer?
My dissertation was about Houston residents' perception about the Houston Police Department, but unlike Dr. Kim, I'm just pure professional, so I have never been a police. I'm not a police, I'm just scholar. So I know sometimes the reason I became a policing scholar, I worked at a policing institution, training institution for 2 years, and then I decided to, by having that experience, I wanted to write policing topic for my dissertation, so it became my specialty. So I published some report about it and then wrote some book chapters about it. But if you ask me, am I a police officer? Have I ever been a police officer? My answer is no.
That wasn't my question I asked.
Okay, what was that?
Ride-along?
What is that?
Ride-along is where we have a civilian who could assist or just be next to us when we're doing our regular patrols.
I have never been. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Doctor, there's a trend across the nation now where certain prosecutors are not prosecuting what we call quality of life defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all under the umbrella of criminal justice reform. Have you found any effect of that as it applies to your community policing idea, which does talk about enforcing the law, particularly in those quality of life?
That's a very deep question. I could do one class for that. Actually, quality of life issue very serious, because the start point about focusing on quality of life is started from 1984, 82, that about broken windows concept. And then after this implementation of broken windows concept, actually New York Times, it was published in 1984 or 6 or something, they criticized about this strategy because in jail there's full of first-time offenders and the misdemeanors because the department wanted to control this quality of life issue, which are not serious crime. They have to focus on minor crime, which are like vagrancy, drug addict in the street, like sleeping, like public urination, all those things, which are not major crime. But in that city, especially big city, New York and Philadelphia and Boston, they actually found a reduction in both minor and serious crime after implementation. But my perception is that I'm not a police, I'm a scholar. So what I do is reading the papers and evidence and try to find out the research. In a smaller city, or maybe suburb, if it's not bigger city like New York, Philadelphia, or Boston, we may not have to arrest those quality of life issues like misdemeanors, like public urination, like prostitution, drug addict, vagrancy. So, because police officers, they have already lots of paperwork. Once they arrest, they mean another paperwork. So they want to probably, it is better for not arresting those misdemeanors. But in terms of quality of life concept also has been like dramatically increased. If residents see, okay, there's a reason that police wanted to arrest those misdemeanors, even though it raised lots of criticism, because we already have a lot of like correctional population in this country. We don't want more jail population in this country. So criminal justice reform is very important concept, but the reason police wanted to arrest those like misdemeanors, because residents, when we survey them, if they see more like misdemeanors, like vagrancy, like people littering things like graffiti and then abandoned buildings and cars, if they see those things, actually residents' perception about quality of life is dramatically decreased. That's why police actually try to focus on that issue. But kind of I found mixed finding. So what I want to suggest is that we have to look at the geographic location. So we have to strategically always dynamically change that it's kind of like application about this quality of life issue related arrest.
Everybody remember their faces. If you see them in the street, say hi and be nice to them. Present appreciation award to Dr. Song. Where'd she go?
Right here.
Oh, right here.
Actually, I'm not here, but I have a basketball.
Oh, good.
Dr. Son, on behalf of our organization and for your dedicated services and support for the Korean community safety and crime prevention advocates, we greatly appreciate your speech. Probably you could tell by the number of questions that were asked, even by the district attorney himself. And your efforts, we sincerely thank you and are hereby recognized. Thank you.